Hello, and you're all very welcome along to the latest episode of Champ.ie's Road to Cheltenham Challenge, brought to you in association with Boyle Sports, Gowran Park Racecourse and Syndicate Stott Racing. Talking all things Cheltenham, the top performances over the 7 days, and answering your hashtag big questions every Monday. Barry and Rona will once again go head to head by giving one anti-pose selection each week until the 2024 festival in March.
It is Lossiemouth who has the lead at the last. Lossiemouth is over by 2 lengths from centre. Then Gala Marceau with 200 yards to race. It is Lossiemouth at the moment keeping up the gallop, keeping a 2-length advantage over Gala Marceau, who's moved past centre, but neither will move past Lossiemouth, who wins the JCB Triumph Hurdle.
Showing over 44 points profit and 132 point stake since 2020, the Champ.ie Road to Cheltenham Challenge show is this season bidding to secure 4 years of anti-post profit in a row. The lads look forward to discussing your selection this week, and don't forget it's important to update your full anti-post portfolio in the comments to help us keep track. Give this video a like for more Cheltenham content, and be sure to subscribe to the Champ.ie YouTube channel, Ireland's premier racing podcast. Enjoy the show.
Boyle Sports. Don't just bet, choose wisely.
So, hello and welcome back to episode number 19 of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, our penultimate episode of the series, Ronan Groom, the Cheltenham Challenge 2024. It's been fun. We've 2 more episodes, and this, of course, is our Q&A episode. So we've loads of questions in from the loyal listeners and viewers of the show. And, of course, we're 6 days out to the Cheltenham Festival. We'll talk about the weather forecast and the updated ground situation in just a moment. But first of all, a little bit of housekeeping. Show proudly in association once again with Boyle Sports, our betting partner. Gowran Park Racecourse, the premier racecourse in the southeast of Ireland. Don't forget, of course, you can get tickets for this upcoming Saturday, Racing and Rugby Day. Not my cup of tea, the rugby, Ronan Groom. But so we do have that matter of Ireland and England at Twickenham this weekend. Save 33% if you scan the QR code on screen at the moment and get your tickets early. And of course, Syndicate Stott Racing, you know what to do. You know how to get involved. Pick your horse, €50 off your first share by applying the Champ.ie discount code. Right, let's go. We have plenty to discuss, and obviously our episode 19 selections at the end. But looking at the ground conditions at the moment at Cheltenham, it's still odds on the exchanges for us to have good to soft ground on day one, and doesn't appear to be that much rain on the Norwegian weather forecast channels that we keep refreshing every 2 minutes.
Yeah, looking like it could be soft, I suppose. It's soft at Cheltenham at the moment, but it all changes. I suppose you're playing with the devil when you're guessing the weather forecast, even this close enough. So a bit of rain, I think, due at some stage during the weekend, and then we'll have a bit of better picture then, I suppose, at the time of declarations on Sunday. It could be still soft, which is worth bearing in mind. It seems like Ballyburn, maybe that's affecting Willie Mullins' plans. Is Ballyburn now off to the Ballymore? He's 4-1 on the exchange now for the Supreme. So I suppose that was the big kind of market move today, but that could all change again. So we'll, I'm sure we'll be monitoring it during the week as always.
Certainly so. Right, let's kick on questions from our loyal listeners. And I think this is a good one to kick us off, Ronan Groom. Brian Walker, very loyal follower of the show, has asked us both for an each way lucky 15 for the festival. Now, I think we both have, we've aimed high, we've shot for the stars. We've gone for races where there's going to be a big field. And just obviously to mention, Boyle Sports, our betting partner, in, I suppose, races where you have 12 runners or more. So the big handicaps, something like the Albert Barton, where you could have a big field. Obviously, you'll be getting 4 places in races, you know, with 12 or more runners. And, you know, races where you have 16 or more runners, typically you'll get 5 places. So the extra places could be key when it comes to each way lucky 15s. And we've had a go at both. Kick us off with yours.
All the horses I kind of mentioned before, Basil, on the podcast at various stages. A couple of them I've got in my portfolio, but the prices are still readily available. They're handicap horses, as you'd imagine, for a lucky 15, looking for a bit of value. So I went with Muscada in the Grand Annual, 14-1, still available on Boyle Sports. About her, I think that's really big. I really like her, especially with the ground likely to be soft as well. Gabby's Cross is a 10-1 shot in the Pertemps again. Think there's still a bit of juice there for all the attempts will be very competitive. But he has a lovely looking profile for it now. I think he could be well handicapped and progressive as well over hurdles. Angels Dawn in the Kim Muir, for reasons I'll outline later on, probably give it a bit away there, but I was speaking to Sam Curling this week for our own podcast on the Irish field, and did nothing to put me off her on her return bid. So I think she could run a big one in the Kim Muir. And then Waterford Whispers in the Martin Pipe. Now, he'd be one of my sweetest handicap bets of the week, but he needs to get in is the only thing, so we're planning on running a wet there, I suppose, but he's around 10-1 there. If he showed up on the day, I could easily see him going off 4-1, but he's 50 on the list, Basil, so he needs about 20, 26 to come out, and of course a lot of them are doubly declared in the Coral Cup, and you have JP with a few, and if he'll want to get Waterford Whispers in there, I presume, well, hopefully he does. And if he does get in, he's a big player, but that's the question with him at the moment. So did they all accumulate, or are the lucky 15 on the payout on the Boyle Sports and paying just the cool €117,417.50. So that'll be a nice one now come the end of next week. I'll be booking myself a little holiday.
Some holiday with that, Ronan. And well, look, as I said, plenty of extra place races as well. So there's value to be had, particularly if you wait till the day, and some juicy prices there as well, Ronan. Look, I've gone for, first of all, my each way nap of the whole festival, and it's Lecky Watson. We've been singing about him. We have him obviously in the team sheet at 25-1 for the challenge. So he's down to 10-1 now, and I could see him going off a single figure price. So if you wanted to do the bet now, he's 10-1. And I have to put him in. I think he's tailor-made for the race. He's graded form. The bumper worked out last year from Cheltenham. He went well at the course. I think the new course will suit him better coming up that hill. I'd say he'll be the last off the bridle, and he'll absolutely devour the hill, Ronan. The Bartlett can be a trappy one, but I just think he's tailor-made for the race. And yeah, if there was a little bit of rain around, I think on Thursday afternoon, early Friday morning, I think that would certainly help his chances as well. We've gone to the Kim Muir as well. Bow to greatness in the Kim Muir. Look, obviously with Ben Pauley, he was quite sweet on his chances for the Kim Muir when we had him on the show a couple of weeks ago. Yet to win over fences. Thought he ran a fine race on the new course on 2 occasions, over 2.5 miles last year in the plate. And obviously the form worked out well in that race behind Ginny's Destiny from earlier on in the season. Obviously, Teeterman is a big player for the plate. I think Bow to greatness is going to be a big player in the Kim Muir. The extra 2 furlongs is going to suit him. And yeah, I like the way he shaped the Kempton last time out. So he goes in at 14-1. I think the English can take the Kim Muir for once. And Teeterman 6-1. Obviously, for the Bandley team, I just think this horse, it's an A versus B contest in my view. I think there's a lot of deadwood in the race, and at odds of 6-1, he's a nice profile for the race. Novices and second season novices have a particularly good record in the plate, and I think I like the way he was staying on last time out. And the other one, I'm going to the Boodles, Ronan, and I'm going for the top weight in here. Obviously, a couple came out today, but I'm going with Liari, 10-1 for Paul Nicholls. And it's interesting. I think his best juvenile is actually running in the Boodles this year. He's not going to go to Triumph Fruit. He's going to run him off top weight in the Boodles itself. And obviously, Cracksman, a relatively new national hunter, jump sire. I think soft ground, good ground. He's proven himself on both. He's unbeaten over hurdles for Paul Nicholls. And I just really like his profile. His form is working out well as well. He beat Braden Fassa by 8 lengths at Musselburgh on his most recent outing in Listed Company. He laughed at his rivals at Aintree in a slowly run race. I think a truly run race on the Tuesday at Cheltenham is going to really suit him. So Liari for Paul Nicholls, who I do believe put it up as his best handicap chance of the week. Looking at the payout, not as much as Ronan, but it's still a fair old payout for a €5 each way lucky 15 that will get you back. Obviously the stake 150, 93,949 and 6 cents. So that's if you want to follow us in.
You'll take it, Basil.
I'd take it. Lecky Watson, Bow to greatest, Teeterman and Liari. 3 British runners in there, and the each way nap, Lecky Watson. Cannot wait to see him on the Friday of Cheltenham. Tailor-made for the race. Right, we've lots to discuss. Next one up is Malcolm Bird has put in a question, and he's asked us, Roland, if we could bring back a horse from the past to run in the Cheltenham Gold Cup, the Champion Hurdle, and the Champion Chase, who would it be? Take it away.
I take back Archibald for the champion hurdle, just for the pure drama of it all. The way I love the horse, the way he used to just cruise up or the ride. Paul Kirby, I'd have to take him out of retirement as well to ride him, because I don't think anyone else would be able to do him justice at all. And he was a brilliant horse. Really should have won the champion hurdle that year, but that was just the way he needs to be ridden. That's my favourite race to watch back. And he'd be interesting now. He'd cruise up alongside Constitution Hill, and I'd say I don't know what would happen after that, but he was pure drama watching him. And Carby was brilliant on him, wasn't he? Archibald for the champion chase. I take back Moscow Flyer, one of my favorite horses. Anyway, he was kind of doing his thing just when I was getting into racing, and he was just brilliant, wasn't he? Him and Barry Gowdy, they were just top class 2 mile chasers. The way he jumped, he'd fall every fourth start, wasn't it? It was really unique, but he always, like, the margin between him falling at a fence and getting over it was so tight, wasn't it? But that's the way he jumped. He was left it all out on the line, and if he came down, it was because he was just got in too tight. But if he got over, he was jumping it so efficiently well. He was the epitome of a 2 mile chaser, Moscow Flyer, top class. And for the Gold Cup is an interesting one. I love Denman. He'd probably be the one I take back. But I wonder if you took back Best Mate. I always thought that was a soft era that he was winning his 3 Gold Cups in. There wasn't much to take him on. I wonder if you took him back now, would you get the true value of the form there? Where would he lie up in a Gold Cup, say, coming up this Friday week? I'm not sure he'd get into the top 3, to be honest with you. That's just a hunch I have. So maybe I bring it back him just for the interest of it. But Denman was one of my favourite staying chaser of all time anyway. So he'd be high up on the list as well, Basil.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm going to take a bit of a twist on the question, because just ever so slightly, because look, I loved Hurricane Fly. I didn't think Cheltenham was his best track, and what I'd actually love to see is Statement versus Hurricane Fly around Leopardstown, because in any other year, look, I think Statement will win the champion hurdle. He's obviously 8 grade ones. He's brilliant at Leopardstown, never too flash. But Hurricane Fly and Statement around Leopardstown, I would have loved to seen that match. So I'm going to take back Hurricane Fly in that division. But I suppose with the team at Cheltenham, I would just have loved to have seen an Ergamine versus El Fabiolo. So I'm hoping the King comes back next year and we'll see the clash, El Fabiolo versus an Ergamine, because he was going for 3 on the bounce. If we were getting soft ground, you'd certainly be leaning in the direction of an Ergamine to make it 3 wins on the bounce. Obviously, the Queen Mother eluded Willie Mullins for so many years, and Ergamine, I don't think, got the credit he deserved for his 2 champion chase wins. I thought it was a career best in the race last year, and I'd love to see that for obvious reasons. And another twist on the question, because a horse that never ran in the Gold Cup that I'd love to see back, and I don't think we saw the best of this horse. He was only 7 years of age when he sadly passed. A 5-time Grade 1 winner in his life, Vautour. I would love to see that horse, how he would have stacked up in a Cheltenham Gold Cup. He peaked at a rating of 176 over fences. I would love to see Vautour and how he'd stack up against Galloping the Champ. I thought personally he was one of my favourite horses of all time. And yeah, obviously he only won a Ryanair, so he's a horse I don't think ever reached his full potential. And I thought that was some Gold Cup now. I mean, if the 3 of them had got there, Vautour, Q-Card obviously came down in the race, and Don Cossack, that was up there with one of my favourite races of all time, or division, sorry, should I say. And that King George was brilliant. It had everything, really. And yeah, if Don Cossack had stood up at Kempton, was he going to win Runner Groom?
He was coming fairly strong. I was a big fan of Don Cossack that year, and part of my reasoning for backing him for the Gold Cup was I thought he was going to outstay them at Kempton. He wasn't done with when he came down, and that was on a kind of speedier track, wasn't it? He was all class, Don Cossack, over the staying trip in the Gold Cup. So I thought he wasn't done with that day now. That was a great race, though, in fairness. Vautour, that was just madness, though. They really did mess that up, not going for the Gold Cup that year, in my opinion. It was a bit shady, wasn't it? The way they kind of pulled the wool over the punter's eyes towards the end of the week. I remember that being a bit controversial, and rightfully so. But we let bygones be bygones at this stage. Basil would be in a bad state now if we're still talking about things like that 10 years on or whatever it is.
Superstitions, Ronan Groom. Right, if you're watching Cheltenham at home on the couch and you're at home for the week, what do you like to do? And if you go to Cheltenham, Is there anything you like to do? I'm not going to, again, a twist on the question. I'm not very much a superstitious person, Ronan, but I suppose there's certain things I like to do. I like a routine, especially on Cheltenham week. And look, I get up very, very early. First of all, the night before Cheltenham, if I'm at home or I'm, even if I'm in Cheltenham, I'll probably ring the rooster, my uncle, about 100 times. He'll probably have about 10 or 20 missed calls for me. I just want to talk racing with John the night before and the morning of the racing itself. I love a good pot of tea, Ronan. The Racing Post always comes in handy. A physical copy that it's in your hand with a notebook beside you. No matter how much study you've done up to the point of the Tuesday at Cheltenham, I just love to have to be organised at the kitchen table with the pot of tea and the Racing Post in hand and ready for the morning line show. Something I've always done from day one. And I suppose if I'm going to Cheltenham, the thing I really like to do is get to the course early and have a hog roast outside the CU Den bar. That's something I always have liked to do. I'm not going this year, sadly. I'm working for the week back in Boyles HQ. But if I was going there, I would certainly be arriving early to racing and getting that hog roast outside the CU Den bar and have a couple of hooches along the way.
I'm not quite the same, but not a million miles away either. If I'm at home now, I might take Tuesday off this year, just because it's early in the week. We don't have much to do for our paper. I suppose we're very top heavy towards the end of the week, getting the paper ready for Saturday. Well, obviously, we have online stuff and that, but it's not too hectic earlier in the week. So I might be able to take Tuesday off this year, and in that case, I'll probably very similar. I wouldn't be a big fan. I've gone off the morning line now since I probably want to be those old fogies who talks about the morning line being gone since it was off Channel 4 when it was brilliant then. I used to remember.
Well, they were the early days, weren't they? It was
they were the early days. I used to watch
Ted Walsh's, your John McCrericks, your John Frankham's,
Stevenson, John McGrath, John Frankham, of course,
Who was your favourite of that lot, Ronan?
Big Mac was class. You see the videos of him, the clips on YouTube or on Twitter. I don't know. Did you see this week? There was a clip going around of he went up to Justin Carty. There's a clip of him at Cheltenham Festival, and Justin Carty laid €200,000 bet on Hardy Eustace to win the champion hurdle, and it's gold, and you're just thinking, Jesus, that just doesn't go on anymore, does it? I doubt bookmakers are laying those types of bets in the ring anymore. Maybe they are. But
I think the three, if you were to ring fence three, I know you mentioned John McGrath, but I think it was Ted Walsh, Frankham, and Big Mac, wasn't it? If you could ring fence the three,
Frankham was brilliant.
Those were the days. You never told the listeners about the time we broke into the Cotswolds Club and saw Constitution Hill from the top of the new stand, winning by about 42 lengths, and we nearly got kicked out of there. I think you had the media pass at the time, I didn't, and let's just say we weren't get back in for the Arkle.
They didn't have much respect for the media pass either, to be honest with you. We were both getting kicked out, but at least we got a good view of Constitution Hill for at least 5 minutes coming around.
Yeah, but you'll have to break into the Cotswold Club yourself this time round. But thanks for the question, Peter. In terms of superstitions, I was never one to put on my favourite sock before I went out to play a game of football or anything like that. So when it comes to the horses, absolutely not. But I do like my routine. And as I mentioned, that's the pot of tea, the fry up, the morning line, ring the rooster the night before and the morning of racing. And look, it's always great fun. So look, obviously from a betting perspective, Roland, but you have to love the drama and the sport and everything that goes with it as well. So I do think the morning line is a good watch.
Yeah.
Right. Look, Stephen O'Cara has asked the question, which horse at the festival made you the most money over the years? And is there a Barbers in Navan, Ronan Groom?
I'm in Trim now, and there is a Barbers in Trim. I wasn't aware that I needed to go, but Stefan clearly feels that is.
I think you've got the Trim since the last episode, and that was only last night. So maybe you saw the comment and went for.
No, I don't know. Maybe it was the angle. Maybe it was the lighting yesterday. Was maybe shined a poor light on me literally. So I'll take it on board, Stefan, and we might get we'll get a fresh cut now at the weekend for Cheltenham. But to the question,
the championship haircut, Ronan Groom, you can't beat
it.
What about the horse that made you the most money?
But the Denman, the year he won. Now I don't claim this to be any sort of shrewd sort of thing, but I kept putting money on him week on week. Do you know that it got really the whole Cotto Star thing was a huge thing at the time, and they built it up to be this big clash. And I was hugely in the Denman camp. I was like, this horse is not going to get beaten at Cheltenham over the 3-2. Cotto Star is more of a classy horse, but Denman will grind them out. Now this is superb after timing now, but for the purposes of the question, but I just kept putting money on him every week. I thought this was like, every time I'd the old wage packet came in, I'd throw another 20 or 30 quid on them.
Sounds like me and Lecky Watson this year, Ronan.
Yeah. So that's my biggest bet, and it wasn't exactly great prices or anything. This was after he'd what did he won that year? He came back and won the Hennessy. Did he win at Leopardstown that Christmas? I can't recall exactly which year that was, but it was from January onwards, and I just kept on shoveling more money on. So you can imagine that was why Denman is so close to my heart. Anyway, I'm watching that race. I love watching it back. The emotion, you're nearly reliving the emotions, I suppose. And that was my biggest win.
Yeah, I'll share a couple, Ronan, because the earliest memories of horse racing were Hedge Hunter. The very first bet I ever put on was Hedge Hunter when he won the Grand National. That'll probably show my age. I was 11 years of age at the time, but that's obviously going back further. 5 for 3 when he won in 2008. I think isn't that the famous story where I think it's one of the 2 anti-post bets that Willie Mullins ever had. I don't know whether I believe that one, but for the Supreme Novices Hurdle, but he actually went to the Ballymore, and we backed him on the day at 7-1. He went off 7-1. I think he only won one race afterwards. He was rated 1-3-4 going into the race, and came from the absolute clouds. It was some ride by Ruby Walsh, but in terms of a big win, I remember doing an anti-post treble, Thistlecrap, Vroom Vroom Mag for the Mayors, and Duvan for the Arkle, and the biggest prize. It was quite a decent treble actually at the time. Thistlecrack was the biggest price of the lot, and I was waiting on him for a right touch on the Thursday, and obviously the first 2 won, and he went away and he cruised into the straight up the new course. He beats Alpha des Obo by 7 lengths at the time, but I remember seeing him and followed him right throughout the year that season, and I just couldn't have had anything getting near him in that particular division. And I thought he was excellent on that day. But what a horse to finish. Watch back that particular race and think of me, who was just waiting on him to finish off the anti-post treble. So obviously Energumene has to get a big mention as well, Roland. 40-1 for the Arkle. That didn't quite work out. But I think we backed them 10-1, I think was the biggest price I got for Queen Mother. And we backed them all the way down. He went off 5-2. I think he was 7-2 the morning of the race. And it absolutely, you might remember his first champion chase when you were over there with us. It absolutely pissed rain the morning of the race and right throughout the day. And the more rain fell, you just felt it was all coming into line. And you look, 5-2, that was a great moment as well. So, and who'll forget Good Time Johnny last year as well? Good prices taken about him. So there's a couple there for you, Stefan, but let us know yours in the comments down below. Asking about the Pressbury Cup. He goes for 28 in terms of a scoreline in favour of Ireland. He can still see that in the Kim Muir. Good record the Irish have in the Kim Muir. And what he thinks that the British will take the following 8 races up on screen, which do include the Arkle Champion Chase, Grand Annual, Turner's Ryanair, Plate Triumph, and Hunter's Chase. What do you think?
I think initially I said 1810 earlier in the season, and I'd have to change that obviously now to 19-9 with Constitution Hill out. So I'm pretty close to what Stuart's saying as well there. I think there's a train of thought that the British will do better in the handicaps this season. I can see that, the Irish seem to be kind of leniently treated in the handicaps as opposed to other years when the weights came out there. The averages were down on last year, but at the same time, there seems to be a lot of
lower rate.
It's hard to measure what the handicapper's doing to the British horses. Exactly, yeah. So there seems to be a train of thought that they do okay there. I'm not sure. We're pretty strong. If you even just look at the prices for a lot of the handicaps, we're pretty strong still. Even the likes of the Kim Muir there, I know the way you're thinking is quite strong. Angels Dawn is back for more as well. So a lot of favourites. Willie Mullins is going to have a huge week. Naturally, I think it's you can't see anything other than Ireland dominating again. Let's say 18-19 would be the line. I guess 18.5, maybe something like that.
Yeah, just going back over the history. Well, this will only be the second time in 7 seasons, Ronan, that if Stuart is to be correct, that Ireland will get 20 or more winners. And I think they will. And I think that scoreline is absolutely spot on. It's second favourite in the market in terms of a correct score. It's priced up at 5-1. And look, the way I see it going, Ronan, is looking at I suppose the day-by-day breakdown. I think Ireland will take day 1 5-2. I think Ireland will take day 2 5-2. And I think the British will beat us on Thursday. I'm going to say that. I think the Thursday could be a strong day for them. The Turners have a really strong chance in. I think they'll land the plate. I think they'll land the Pertemps this year. I think they have a very strong chance of landing the Kim Muir, and hopefully it's with bow to greatness this season. It's interesting your thoughts on the handicaps as well. But I think it's set up, I suppose, to break hearts, because I could see Ireland going through the card, even though Sergino's in the triumph. I think the Irish have plenty of really decent arcs in that. And it just wouldn't surprise me if it's 7-0 or 6-1 on the Friday at Cheltenham. So that's the way I see it going. I think it'll be all to play for going into Friday. I think there's a strong chance the British could have a good day on Thursday. And I think there's every chance it could finish 28, or it could finish 19-7 in my view. And just looking back over the last couple of years, last year was 18-10. It was 18-10 the year before. 23-5 back in 2021. That was an absolute rout. And 2020 saw 17-11. 14, it was a tie back in 2019. That seems a long time ago, Roland. In my view, it's 28 to the Irish. And I think you could be right. I think the Brits could have quite a bit of success in the handicaps in particular. Right, last question comes from Cider. And I don't have a strong opinion on this. I suppose I'm going to say, look, Langerdam, first of all, I think will run in the Coral Cup. I think there's every chance he goes close once again off the exact same mark he won off last year. Was it 1-4-1 he got this year? Or is running off this year in the Coral? That's what he won off last year, I do believe.
It's 1-4-1, and yes, you are correct. He did win last year off 1-4-1. You recall they came clear with 2 other horses there, an Epic Song and Comprend, that they all looked well handicapped or thrown.
There's a lot of whinging about this, Roland, is there?
So, I think it's kind of like, depends on what type of person or what sort of punter you are, or how you follow the game. There's some people whinge about it, some people admire it, some people laugh at it. Like, you know, it is kind of funny. Like Dan Skelton was on a preview the other day, and he was kind of saying the horse had ulcers or something earlier in the season. Like, I don't know, was he like kind of struggling to keep a straight face when he said that, or maybe it's true, I don't know. But it's all very convenient, isn't it? And but like maybe the fault is not with him, but with the British handicapper. Like, is he not seeing this for what it is? You know, he's quite willing to drop it. Like, he's gone off 40-1, 40-1, and 66-1 on his last 3 starts, but yet the British handicapper is just like dropping him, like free falling him completely back down to his initial mark. So maybe that's the real question here: is the wool is getting pulled over the eyes too much? But we'll see what happens. See what happens on the day. See how warm he is in the market, and see what Dan says after. But I'm sure he might be holding back the laugh and behind the smiles as well. So.
Look, there's no doubt about it that he's got away lenient from the British handicapper. I've no doubt about that, but he still mightn't be good enough to win. He won last year by a nostril. He's a year older this year. You know, the race, the Coral Cup at the best of times is a very tricky race to back the winner. You need to have plenty of experience. There's a couple of unexposed ones in there this year. I mean, look, he still has to go. And look, there's no doubt about it. He's handicapped to run a very big race. But look, fair dues to them. This is their big day. They've laid the horse out for this particular race. The handicapper has helped them out, but I wouldn't be getting stressed about it. I mean, he still mightn't win the race. He still mightn't even place. So calm down, folks. It's all part of the fun of it. And if you think he's that well in, put your money where your mouth is and go and back him to win the race. Right. What else do we got to do, Roland? We have to put up our selections for episode number 19. We'll be doing that. And we want to hear from you as well. We want you to update your portfolios as much as possible before the final episode on the eve of the Cheltenham Festival, because we have to pick a winner, don't we, on Monday nights ahead of the Cheltenham Festival. And, of course, the big prize, VIP trip to the Boyle Sports Irish Grand National. We will be given our episode 19 selections after this. I think the last thing to say, Ronan Groom, on the matter of questions is thank very much for I suppose, all the participation all year in the comments down below. We love reading the comments. We love reading the selections. Some very interesting questions have been discussed on the show. So thanks for your questions. And if you have any more, we'll do our best to answer them on Monday's show. Week 19 selections, episode 19, should I say. Selections after this.
Granger and Patrick Mullins.
McGree has justified favouritism, but sharp object out in front will ready for John McConnell and Alex Harvey.
Western victory, Silverland. That'll be the finishing order.
On the tee from Centralstown, County Meath, Mr. Ronan Groom. He's looking to get the title off me of the Anti-Post King. What have you gone with for episode number 19?
I've gone for Angels Dawn for a repeat success in the Kinmure Challenge Cup for Sam Curling. Had a word with Sam for an Irish Field podcast earlier in the week, and he was very positive on her chances. Naturally enough, I suppose she has to have a leading chance. She's been campaigned, I suppose, with the Thyestes in mind all season. A couple of runs over hurdles. She wasn't unfancied when she ran. She's off a quite a lower hurdles mark, but chasing definitely seems to be her game, and she bounced right back to form when she was third to Ain't That a Shame in the Thyestes. A huge run. Soft ground is important to her. She seems to be quite positive on that front next week. She seems to have every chance she'll get that, and it's rare that you see a horse being able to come back and run in the Kinmure again, I guess. I don't have the stats to hand, but she just scraped into the race last season, right off the bottom weight there. So as high as she's gone up in the weights, she's still well within the compass or the threshold, I suppose, of 145. So she's back here to defend her title. She obviously has course and distance form, know-how stays well, like soft ground. The form with Sumtown is really strong. And I just think she's a leading contender in a race that's lost a couple of its leading contenders in the shape of Percival de Galois, doesn't run now, and Firm Footings ruled out of the race also. So thought she was worth getting on side at 10-1.
Yeah, well, I'm going to side with Paul Nicholls for a Cheltenham Festival winner with a juvenile. No stranger to juvenile winners at the Cheltenham Festival. He's won this Boodles handicap on 3 occasions in the past, and he's going to run Liari. It could be his only runner, I do believe, in the Boodles this season off top weight. We obviously have seen developments this morning, which means Liari, if he runs in the Boodles, will carry top weight. 4-year-old son of Cracksman, 3 runs in France for the Aga Khan, Ronan, and I really like what it's shown on the race course so far over hurdles. Quite a good jumper, very strong traveller. Paul Nicholls has branded it as best handicap chance of the week for a winner itself. And the Arders in cracking form at the moment, 36% strike rate. Paul Nicholls couldn't be in any better form heading into the Cheltenham Festival. I just think top weight and a handicap here, you could do worse than back. Look, I think it's a decent price. 12-1 about Liari, enhanced out from 10-1. I think it'll definitely be in the frame. And what I like about the horse as well, look, we were discussing weather forecast. It's quite versatile in terms of ground. It was a winner. I had the class to win over 1.2 miles in France on the flat on decent ground, and absolutely hacked up on the bridle on heavy ground at Aintree on penultimate run and won a listed race at Musselburgh. And we did mention early on in the show in the Lucky 15 section that there's form lines true on Braden Fassa, who obviously Liari beat by 8 lengths at Musselburgh in that listed race, and he's been running consistent right throughout the season on Braden Fassa in juvenile races. He's no world beater, but Burdett Road only beat him by 6 lengths. And so I think that brings maybe the form lines with the Triumph in. Obviously, he'll have to carry more weight than maybe some unexposed Irish horses who will be down around the bottom of the weights. But I just think he'll run a good race at a big price. I think he's versatile. And just looking at the stats of the last 5 years, obviously we've seen Brazil win the Boodles handicap hurdle off a pretty high weight. 3 of the last 5 winners have carried 11 stone, 8 or more. So you can look towards the top end of the weights here. And I just think he's underestimated at that type of price. And he could be underestimated at odds of 12-1. Did he come into your radar in any way, shape or form?
I can't say he did, but nothing against the horse or anything. Boodles isn't the race I have really got stuck into yet, and to be honest, I don't tend to get stuck into it. Will I have a bet in the day? Probably, but not now. I suppose I'll wait for declarations and see if I can spot one then. But it's a bit cloudy at the moment as is, so that's one race I've decided to leave.
That has been the penultimate episode of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge. Make sure if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. We're aiming for 3K subscribers. And also, if you haven't updated your portfolio, make sure to do so before Monday's episode. It is the final episode of the Road to Cheltenham Challenge, series number 4. We'll see you next Monday.